It's on the date object in JavaScript. So how is that you create date in JavaScript? That is the key. So we'll take a look at some date methods and how you create date object in JavaScript. Let me show how to print the system date and time. So I'll call constant d. You call this object, you create new date like this. Now d represents the current date and time. So let's write this to the web page, document.write d. So what is that you are seeing to the right is today's date and time. So you can very well invoke the current date and time by using new date. Are you clear with this? The next thing is we have something called this date, that is epoch date. So this is like a reference date in JavaScript. Say if I give new date of 0, so it's like a reference. They call this the epoch date, that is Jan 1, 1970. So this is used as a reference date in computations. So we'll see what is the use of this later on, but you understood this. So Jan 1, 1970, it will be used as a reference in certain computations while we are working with dates. So how will you find this date is you pass the argument 0. So now we'll take a look at some methods. Say when I give date and then document.write, I'll call date.now. What is it we are performing here? We have this date object created and I'm saying date.now. So what date.now specifies here is it specifies the number of milliseconds from Jan 1, 1970 from that epoch date. So what it specifies here is the number of milliseconds. What is getting returned here? Number of milliseconds from epoch date. So I told you there's a reference date used. That is Jan 1, 1970. So from Jan 1, 1970, the number of milliseconds that has elapsed is returned. Understood? What is the use of date now? See, D represents here the current date and time. We have printed the current date and time just a few minutes back. And if I perform document.write d.getTime, I use the current date and time. I use this method d.getTime. Again, you are seeing some milliseconds there, right? What is that? It's the number of milliseconds that has elapsed from 1970 till this date and time, till the current date and time. So you can use d.getTime or date.now. Both of these things return the same number of milliseconds. What does date.now return? From 1970, number of milliseconds that has elapsed. What d.getTime returns? From 1970 till this current date and time, the number of milliseconds that has elapsed. So what is this epoch date? That is used as the reference date in computing the number of milliseconds in these methods. Are you clear with this? So there are other ways to create date. Say I can create date by passing a string. Say I can create date by passing a string like this. I can say 2015. I can give some month and some 15th Jan 2015. And will I document dot write? Will I just see? This is also possible. See, now it's Thursday, Jan 15th, 2015. So you can very well set some date by passing string as an argument to the date method. So what is that we are passing here? You can pass a string. So this is one of the ways wherein you can get the string as an input, pass the string and set a date. Another way to set a date is you can go with this. You can go with numbers like this, say 2015, comma. So you can go with year, month, say year, month starts at 0. So month starts in 0 here, and the number of days, again you can give any days you want, 15. Hours, I'll give 13 hours, 45 minutes, 50 seconds. So what is that you're seeing in the output is Jan 15. So the month year starts from 0, 0 to 11. When I give 0, the month is January. When I give 1, the month is February. So for the when you're setting the date, the month it starts from 0, index is 0. So what is 11? 11 is actually December. So you can create a date like this too, passing all the parameters. So what parameters we have passed here? It's year, month, day of the month, hours, minutes and seconds. We can also have milliseconds too. That's also possible. You all know how to create a date now. What other things we can do with date? We can extract parts of the date. Say I want to just extract the year from this date. How do I extract year? You can go with d dot get full year. So what it extracts is the year. Let's say let year is equal to d dot get full year and document dot write year. So what is that we have extracted from the date? 2015. The year we have extracted. When you're finding difference between years, this kind of a method will be very helpful for us. Get full year will extract the year along. Likewise, what other methods you'll have? Get day, get date, get month, get hours, get minutes, get seconds. So you can extract every part of the date. You have all these methods. You can try this. Let day of the month is equal to d dot get date, and maybe we will log that day of month. So what is the day of month? It's 15th. So how you get the day of month? Get date. How do you get the month? It's very simple, right? D dot get month. So like that you can have get hours, get minutes, get seconds. So all these things we can do. Document dot write line month. So what is the month here? 11. Likewise, you can try getting minutes, getting hours, getting milliseconds, getting seconds from the date. So you can extract parts of the date. Are you all working with me on this? The next thing is you have same kind of methods for setting the date too. Say I have a date like this. Now I want to set the year, I want to set the months, minutes, seconds and hours using methods. I can go with something like this. D dot set full year 2015. D dot set date is the day of the month, say 15. D dot set month. So now you are setting the month, everything for this date. Month is, say I'll say 0. 0 is January, right? And D dot okay, maybe you also have set minutes, set seconds, set milliseconds, set hours. So all these things you can try. We will write this out. Document dot write. What is it we are going to write here is this date. So what is that we have set here? You see Jan 15, 2015. Why it is Jan? Because the month is 0. So you can very well set date using all these methods: set date, set month, set minutes, set milliseconds. You can also get parts of the date using get full year, get month, get seconds, get milliseconds, get hours, get minutes. What is the epoch date? That is Jan 1, 1970. And you can also set date like this. You can create a new date by giving milliseconds. Say I just give some milliseconds here. Now we'll log this date. Let's write this date out, document.write, and then we'll write D. So what it says is Feb 1, 1970. What is the meaning of this? It's nothing but so many number of milliseconds that has elapsed from Jan 1, 1970. So when you create a date by passing milliseconds, what is the reference date that is taken up? Jan 1, 1970. From 1970, how many milliseconds has elapsed? And it computes the date. So it is Feb 1, 1970. That's the meaning here. So this reference, mostly it computes using the, not mostly, the reference is computed using that epoch date. Are you clear with dates? How to compute age of an user? So there are two things that we need here. One is the current date and time and the user's birth date. So you declare the current date and time, say D is equal to new date. This references the current date and time. And then you get the date of birth from the user. It can be through a form or it can be through a calendar object that he enters. So let's say we get the date of birth. We'll set the date of birth as new date. Say the date of birth is 2015, something like 01. Something like this we'll have. So we have the current date. We have this date of birth from the user. We are setting these two dates. The next thing is we are finding the difference in milliseconds. How will you find the difference in milliseconds? I told you, right? We use two methods. One is date.now. It returns the milliseconds that has elapsed from 1970 till the current date. Minus dob.getTime. What this one does, from 1970 to 2015, the number of milliseconds that has elapsed is coming in here. So we are going to get the difference in milliseconds. Did you understand this? What is date.now? From 1970 till this current date, so many number of milliseconds has elapsed that we are getting. From 1970 to 2015. So the difference in milliseconds will be moved to difference in milliseconds, this variable. And now we will set another age, constant age difference, something like that, something I will say. And we can set this new date and then we pass this milliseconds, difference in milliseconds. So what it means here is we'll log this date. Maybe we'll document.write age. So it says March 7th, 1979. 9 years. How did we get this 9 years? From 1970 till now, from 1970 till 2015. What will be the difference there? The milliseconds will be corresponding to 9 years, right? So that's what is happening here. I create a new date with those number of milliseconds. It tells me 1979. Are you clear with this math? Very simple math here. And now what we can do is from this we can extract the year. How will you extract the year? Let year is equal to age underscore diff dot get full year. So what year will be extracted? 1979. And now you have to subtract 1979 from 1970. That's it. Let difference or let age equals. We'll use a math.abs function here to get the absolute value. It's year minus 1970. So what will be the number of years, 1979 minus 1970 will be 9 years. So we can write document dot write age is just age. So 9 years we are getting. The user was born in 2010, something like that, 14 years. See the output to the right. So you can very well compute the age using the methods that we have learned.